We're watching the live proceedings from Accra, Ghana, where the two principals, Prime Minister Modi and President Mahama, delivered joint press statements toward the end of their delegation-level talks. Just to recap, Mark, for the benefit of viewers tuning in, Prime Minister Modi referring to the decision to elevate the bilateral ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership. He recounted how the bilateral trade has exceeded $3 billion, but there's scope for doing more. He referred to how Indian companies have invested almost $2 billion in Ghana, and that India looks forward to sharing its digital public infrastructure, including the real-time payment mechanism called Unified Payments Interface, to share its experience and expertise with Ghana. He spoke about how India is committed to helping Ghana in its economic reform and restructuring process. He said that the two sides discussed about vaccines, about defense and security cooperation. India also showing interest in critical minerals and mining in Ghana. He spoke about how India and Ghana are members of the Global South and remain committed to amplifying their voice on the world stage. And last but not the least, he recounted how India and Ghana look forward to deepening, broadening and strengthening their counter-terror cooperation, and also how both countries share similar or almost identical views on United Nations reform. Earlier, for his part, President Mahama discussed about the deep-rooted historical tie that exists between India and Ghana. He specifically identified some key areas for cooperation, including agriculture, energy, manufacturing and human resource. He recounted the 4 MoUs that were signed by both sides, including one on the cultural exchange program to enhance people-to-people ties and support cultural diplomacy through joint festivals, exhibitions and exchange of delegations. Number 1. Number 2, the Joint Commission meeting to provide a regular mechanism for reviewing bilateral cooperation and expanding collaboration in key sectors. 3, an MoU on cooperation between the Bureau of Indian Standards and the Ghana Standards Authority, which will work towards improving standards and quality assurance in trade between the two countries. And last but not the least, an MoU between the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Ministry of Ayush of India, and the Institute of Traditional and Alternative Medicine, Volta region of Ghana. Mark.
Indeed, and to help us unpack some of this, we have with us Ambassador Amrit Lugu, former senior diplomat, and Professor Anshu Joshi is also joining us online from JNU. She's joining us via video link. Ambassador is with us in the studio, Ambassador Lugun. We'll first look at the areas of cooperation. There are 4 agreements that have been signed, Ambassador. What do you think? I mean, are there many more areas of cooperation that that have been talked about and are probably likely to be signed in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the 4 agreements, the culture is has gained traction in the last 10-15 years. If you recall that in 2017, first time a festival of India in Ghana was held from January to March. And then last year in 2024, end of towards last year, our High Commission took an initiative to organize again an Indian festival in a stadium in Ghana with the support of local organizations. So culture is one aspect, and that is offshoot is that the agreement on traditional medicine with the world, because Ghana also in the African continent, if we see history, it used to be the headquarters of a kingdom we call Ashanti or something like that, where the African medicines were quite used. So that will that is an offshoot of the both the countries going to the cultural heritage. And of course, the Joint Commission meeting, which also had been signed earlier, if I recall, because the first prime ministerial visit from India, which had happened in 1995, when our erstwhile Prime Minister and Mr. Narasimha Rao had visited Ghana, and I was part in that organizing team of that time as a young diplomat, and that time also the area of joint commission was touched, but unfortunately not much progress happened. So it is being reiterated again now in that area. So but now the signs are different. Our trade has not only crossed $3 billion, but it has been consistently growing in the last 4 to 5 years. It was, I think, 2021. It was $2.3 billion, which has crossed three. It has been added another $1 billion. So this it's a very important achievement, and also the trade. If we see the bilateral trade, it is more in favor of Ghana rather than in India, unlike many other countries. I think out of $3 billion, 1.7 is their exports to India, and ours is around 1.3 to 1.4 billion dollars. So there is much scope for us to enhance, and of course we are one of the largest investors in Ghana after China, and in value wise among the top 5. We have done lot of projects which Prime Minister very aptly mentioned. ICT center is being strengthened because in the current world, the digital divide which is endangering many of the African countries and global south is is another scope where India can contribute a lot. The Kofi Annan Digital Center in Accra is being strengthened. The Jubilee House, President's House is being strengthened. So, so these are and the fact that the declaration for a comprehensive partnership has already been made. So the scope for going forward, not only between India and Ghana, which also share a common English language in that West African region, where there are equal number of French-speaking countries in the ECOWAS, if we see. So for regional traction also, we will see that the Ghana will play and is likely to play an important part. And in fact, in the other fashion in the current world is renewable energy. So Ghana, as the Prime Minister mentioned, is already active in the International Solar Alliance. They have a big hydroelectric plant also. So they have been invited to join this International Biofuels Alliance. And Ghana having a lot of cattle, these biofuels can form a bedrock for building on this alliance. So there are a lot of scope, all round scope, which this visit is throwing up, and the fact that the President himself was at the airport to receive the Prime Minister as a special gesture also indicates the importance Ghanaian side is giving to this visit, and they look forward to this cooperation. And in fact, President Mahama also had visited India in 2015 when India hosted the India-Africa Forum Summit. That time he had just replaced the earlier president there. So he is familiar with India and what and with Prime Minister Minister Modi. So he knows at a personal level also what India can deliver and what can expect from India. Yes,
indeed. Professor Joshi, in terms of the optics and outcomes, symbolism and substance, did it tick all the right boxes for you?
Yes, indeed. And Rameshji, it was really great to see how we have elevated our bilateral relationship to comprehensive partnership with Ghana. Being a member of African Union and a very stable and democratic country from West African region, Ghana holds a great significance for us when it matters to our bilateral relationship with Ghana, as well as when it comes to our multilateral relationship in the region, and of course at the platforms like G20 and United Nations. India and Ghana have been sharing a very strong and growing partnership since years, and it's rooted in the historical ties, share developmental values, goals, and a commitment for global South cooperation. And we can see from today's announcements how this relationship is multidimensional, and it encompasses economic and trade, strategic defense dimensions, and more than that, both the countries seem to be really committed towards taking the agenda of Global South ahead. And of course, it was great to see all these different significant MoUs being signed in this meeting related to agriculture, related to this vaccine manufacturing and other MoUs. And that is what we were hearing also, that there could be some announcements in the area of agriculture, digitalization, vaccine manufacturing, and so on. And we have seen that how India has time and again helped Ghana in terms of its capacity building and infrastructural development. India has given 450 million USD so far, so as concessional credits and different types of aids to develop infrastructure, as in railway lines, buildings, and so on in Ghana. And we have also tried to support Ghana in terms of its digitalization. So Ghana is also connected with India through this E-Vidya Bharati, E-Arogya Bharati, and so on. ICCR has been providing continuous scholarship to the students here to learn Indian culture. So when it comes to cultural exchange also, that is also a key area between both the nations, both bilaterally as well as at the level of region. And we know that India and Ghana share a shared history when it comes to their anti-colonial struggle and their commitment to non-alignment, their commitment to fostering human rights, natural affinity, and mutual support. So definitely, be it the area of capacity building, infrastructural development, or be it the area of trade, wherein our Prime Minister has just announced that how we have crossed 3 billion USD in terms of our trade, and our companies are continuously investing in Ghana, or be it about defense collaboration. So let me also share that Ghana also holds a special place for anti-terrorism initiatives, and it's a part of this ECRA initiative which was launched in 2017 with the help of other West African countries, and it has been contributing to this global fight against terrorism, which is kind of a key priority for India at the moment. So when it comes to defense collaboration also, that's a key area where both the leaders have shown great interest in building a future roadmap. So definitely, it's not only about the bilateral relationship or partnership between India and Ghana. I do see a great window of, a big window of opportunity when it comes to Ghana, because it is a key member of both ECOWAS, which is like the regional economic bloc for Africa, as well as African Union.
Ambassador Lagoon, Prime Minister talked about $3 billion of trade, and Indian companies investing about $2 billion in Ghana. Now that the partnership has become a comprehensive partnership, do you see further investments coming in from the Indian private sector, since there are many other areas of cooperation now?
I mean, the Ghana, the fact that so many projects have already come up in Ghana and our companies are already investing. So there is a comfort level which is developing. Also, Ghana, as far as I know, this CII Africa conclave, which they hold every year. As far as I know, Ghana has been participating at a very high level. Many times the ministers, senior level ministers of various sectors, industry, agriculture, environment dealing, they have been participating in these conclaves. So they are looking forward to attract a lot of Indian investments. The fact that the legal system both are based on the English law, the English speaking makes doing business there much easier. Right. Also, Ghana, after Nigeria, is the second largest country in terms of population in that area. As Cote d'Ivoire is area-wise maybe slightly larger, but Ghana is much more stable, and so therefore the prospects for enhancing our trade relations further. Also, it is very politically stable since 90s. They have had peaceful transfer of power, regular elections. There have been no violence, and unlike many other countries of the region, The recent examples being Niger, Cote d'Ivoire, and Mali, etc.
So the Prime Minister did mention some areas like digital areas, one fintech. Apart from the DP, the public digital public, he also talked about clean cooking gas, the global biofuels alliance. Of course, all these are in the government to government domain, but I'm sure the private sector is keen to participate because there are profits to be made.
Yeah, definitely, because as I was mentioning, Ghana has and that region has a big cattle population. So the prospects for developing biofuels is very good. The Ghana is already active in International Solar Alliance, again that part of the world, West Africa as a whole, Ghana including, they have very good sunshine. So they would like to develop that. Then also Ghana has a big sea coast on the Gulf of Guinea. So tidal power is another area. When we talk about renewable energy and environment, it is important. And also Ghana also is rich in forests, because timber is another area which India imports a lot from Ghana, one of the components. Cashew is another area, so agriculture, cocoa, of course Ghana is well known. The CSIR already has centers in Ghana, and I think they are doing a lot of research for cultivating wheat, which Ghana imports a lot, and cereals, etc. So, these are areas. Means the institutional mechanisms in terms of whether it is having an IC center or agriculture research centers, they have come up in Ghana. And since trade relation, the bilateral trade is consistently in favor of Ghana, if we see the last 5-6 years. So the scope of Indian exports increasing in Ghana is not likely to raise much eyebrows, because anyhow trade was in their favor, it will only lead to more balance. And the fact that our investments and projects, railway projects or other motor part products which our private sector is now looking forward to in those areas, or capacity building institutions, they are likely to benefit the local populace more.
Yes,
it's not like an extractive thing which other countries, especially China, does. So that is likely to go forward. In fact, processing of cashew is another area, if we can develop that capacity, because we import a lot of raw cashew from Ghana, and the value addition is done in India, in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So, therefore the environment is looking good, and therefore there was no hesitation on both sides to elevate the relationship at the comprehensive level.
Yeah. Right. Ambassador Lugun, Professor Joshi, do stay on. We'll come back to you momentarily. In the meantime, let's pull up some more excerpts from the joint press statements. President of Ghana, John Mahama, said that India and Ghana will further strengthen ties in multiple sectors, including the traditional medicines and culture.
The two sides have engaged in significant discussions to deepen cooperation across various sectors of our economy, including agriculture, energy, manufacturing, infrastructural development, human resources, and health, amongst others. On the strength of the successful engagements, we have had a number of memoranda of understanding have been signed between Ghana and India to give impetus to our commitment and aspirations for sustained and enhanced cooperation. And these include the Memorandum of Understanding on the establishment of a permanent joint commission between our two countries, the Memorandum of Understanding between the Institute of Traditional and Alternative Medicine and the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho, Ghana, and the Institute of Teaching and Research in Ayurveda, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. We've also signed an MoU on cultural exchange between our two countries, and also an MoU between the Bureau of India Standards and the Ghana Standards Authority.
Well, the Ghana president also said that Prime Minister's visit at this crucial time, it's crucial because Ghana is undergoing a deep economic restructuring. And he said that India and Ghana will work on enhancing trade and investment that will boost the economy.
Both countries will work to deepen economic and investment relations at a time that Ghana is undergoing economic restructuring due to the debt treatment we're undergoing and the IMF program. Going forward, Ghana and India intend to pursue these engagements through diplomatic mechanisms, including Foreign Office consultations with each other, as well as the Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation, to give effect to the intended outcomes of our engagement for mutual benefit.
Right. Talking about the outcomes, Professor Joshi, we heard President Mahama talk about the 4 MoUs signed towards the end of his talks with Prime Minister Modi. But importantly, the much anticipated agreement or understanding on vaccines and critical minerals did not come through. They are still a work in progress, but the intent is clearly there. Prime Minister Modi is saying that he discussed the critical minerals and mining with President Mahama, and President Mahama in turn saying that he discussed the possibility of turning Ghana into a vaccine hub and also ramping up defense and security cooperation.
Definitely, these are the 3 areas where India and Ghana can do much better and a lot. So when it comes to, for example, establishing connect through vaccine research and development as well as manufacturing, we all know that during the black time period of COVID-19, India assisted Ghana with a huge number of doses of COVID vaccines in 2021 and 2022. And now Ghana looks forward to establish this vaccination hub in Ghana with the help of India. On the other hand, when it comes to defense collaboration, we have seen that how Ghana has been consistently taking interest in attending defense dialogues as well as different programs. So be it the Raisina dialogue or the defense dialogue organized in 2022 in Gujarat, or different exchanges in terms of defense collaboration, Ghana has been a part of all the exercises and programs that we have been organizing since past couple of years. So this is another area where we do see that a lot may happen in near future. And last but not the least, it's about boosting our trade partnership. So that is what our Prime Minister also mentioned, that how India and Ghana are doing really good in the terms of bilateral trade. Our bilateral trade has crossed $3 billion, and India is among the top partners of Ghana. And when we look at the imports that India gets from Ghana, it's gold and coca and cashew nuts and timber products that we get from Ghana. And in exchange, we send plastic items, electrical equipments, pharmaceutical items, agricultural products, and so on to Ghana. So there is a lot of scope, and we have already seen that in past couple of years, a good number of Indian companies like Tata and Ashok and Mahindra, Larsen and Toubro, Shapoorji, all these prestigious companies have established themselves, have made their significant presence in Ghana. And if we look at Ghana Investment Promotion Center, which is GIPC, Indian companies have invested in almost 900 projects with total investment of over $2 billion USD. So this is another area wherein we can speculate that both the countries may come up with some more MOUs in future. So yes, defense collaboration, vaccine manufacturing, and the area of trade are the areas from which we can hear some good news, maybe in near future, maybe tomorrow.
Yes, Professor Joshi, but while maybe the vaccine initiative was not signed at the current time, there was an MOU signed on traditional medicine. And of course, traditional medicine, one would look at Africa also is, probably a continent and that believes in the traditional forms of medicine. And we also know that the Prime Minister was talking about affordable health care. All these things can actually fit into one sort of, a matrix in a sense that can help in creating a healthier society in Ghana?
You are absolutely right. Being a member of African countries, or like the kind of economy that it has and the kind of health issues that African countries face, and every year we see that how United Nations keeps helping through its agencies in terms of be it about running vaccination programs, Mark, or other healthcare, providing other healthcare facilities to these countries. Ghana is one of them, and that's where India has been working very closely with Ghana. So be it about establishing e-network, or be it about signing an MoU to provide technology, to provide good quality, affordable and effective pharmaceutical support and healthcare support, or be it about establishing this e-medicine portal. India has been helping Ghana not only in terms of strengthening its healthcare, public healthcare infrastructure and so on, but also in terms of providing this e-medicine facility. So that is something about future, and India is trying to develop web-based platforms in Ghana by providing technology and economic assistance. And definitely when it comes to respecting and following the path of traditional medicines, we know that Ghana also has similar kind of mechanism, and that's where India and Ghana have now come up with this, collaboration in the area of mixing up the latest technology as well as the traditional healthcare mechanisms that both the countries have. So Ghana respects our Ayurveda and vice versa, and for that matter, Ghana respects India for not only providing all these kind of technological supports, but also providing concessional helps and different types of aids to Ghana to boost its public healthcare system. So definitely this is another area, Mark, wherein both the countries can do something better, and maybe here they can make something, some mechanism, some system wherein they can involve other countries of the region as well, because that is the need of the hour for all these African countries.
Ambassador Lugun, when we talk about development partnership, comparisons sometimes become inevitable. Who is doing more to help the African continent? Is it India? Is it China? Is it France or Russia? But the Indian approach to development partnership can be described as not just giving people on the continent the fish, but also teaching them how to fish. That puts India in a different league of its own, is it not?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, if I can come to Ambassador Lugun first, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That is our USP. You talked about France. First, let me start with the colonial masters, because West Africa, if we see this organization ECOWAS, where Ghana is also a part, and they are getting integrated more and more. So there are equal number of French-speaking countries and the English-speaking countries, of course. English-speaking countries are larger in terms of population. Nigeria is the biggest one. But we have seen a lot of disturbance in the French-speaking area. Niger is a very good example, where France was seen as only extracting its uranium resources to use it in France, and France, as you know, 70-80% of its electricity comes from nuclear power. They are very well developed, but they have hardly put anything in Niger from which they have been extracting. Mali is another example, and therefore these countries have faced a lot of political disturbances. Whereas Cote d'Ivoire is another example. The Burkina Faso is another example. So if we take, so they have discredited themselves. Now coming to China, China has compared to India, their only advantage is they have very deep pockets. They have they have much more resources to splurge. But then China has been using the model of extractive industry. They have been taking out minerals, etc. And even for those low skilled work, they have been sending Chinese workers rather than employing the local sentiment. So therefore, having been in Africa and served there, so there is lot of resentment towards Africa, and till quite recently China was accused of also sending low grade manufactured items to Africa at an inflated rate, etc. So there the USP is India tries to build the local resources, tries to build the human capital, tries to set up centers there where local people can enhance their skills, etc. So that is a big USP of India, and that is why it is getting traction, that attractiveness towards India. We may not have deep pockets, but our engagement is much more looks strengthening and long lasting, where both sides are comfortable, and not only in the hard side but also in the softer side. For example, we may mention about the cultural aspects, the developing between India and Africa, and the best example was the cultural exchange program. MoU has been signed in this current visit. The other challenges where minerals, etc. is concerned, we must also remember there are some sensitivities involved. It will take time, but it should happen, because Ghana is also a producer of diamond, and in that region, this blood diamond has been a very big issue, and that is why this, especially what happened in Sierra Leone. So Kimberley process, which Ghana is also a part, it plays a process to ensure that the diamonds and other critical minerals produced are not of bloody nature, where the workers are exploited, etc. So these are likely to take time, but over time it's likely to happen because of the image which India enjoys, and that is why this importance of standardization, Bureau of Indian Standards and Ghana Standard Institution, that is another important agreement at this juncture, because it can because now non-tariff barriers also play a very important, and so in that standardization play a very important role in affecting trade between two countries. So if standardization agreement is there, then it is likely to facilitate trade and other commercial exchanges between the two countries. It looks over here.
Indeed. In fact, let's listen to the Prime Minister once again. Addressing the joint press meet, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that at the heart of the India-Ghana friendship lies shared values, common struggles and collective aspirations for an inclusive future. The Prime Minister added that in the defense and security sector, both nations will progress with the guiding principle of security through solidarity. Collaboration will be strengthened in key areas, including trade and investment. In fact, we are having a little bit of a problem with our server, so we shall get that soundbite for you in just a while. But Professor Joshi, if you can come in once again, we are talking about India's approach actually to development partnership. India has a capacity building kind of approach. You're in the education sector. To what extent, is the education sector also involved in India's approach in Africa?
You have asked a very good and relevant question, at least for me, when it comes to bilateral relationship between India and Ghana and India's developmental approach towards the African nations. See, that is what I have been telling you all, that India believes in inclusive development for all, and unlike other countries, it doesn't want to exploit any emerging economy or, for that matter, any underdeveloped nation. So we have some examples when it comes to boosting this sector of education in Africa. So when we look at the bilateral relationship of India with Ghana, Ghana is a beneficiary of not only this Pan-African e-network. India runs its e-Vidya Bharati and telemedicine and e-Arogya Bharati programs in Ghana. They are the significant projects flagship projects of India to boost all-round education. And India signed an MoU with India in 2019 for participation of Ghana in different kind of e-projects of India to provide affordable and effective tele-education and different types of educational services through web portals. And Ghana was also a pilot country to roll out a project which was implemented since 2020 to do so. And so far more than 600 Ghanaian students have been enrolled in different educational courses in India for academic sessions of 2021 and 2022 in prestigious Indian educational institutions. And so that is what we have done. We have not only stated, we have also shown that we can do it. And another platform for e-learning center has been established in Kumasi in Ghana, and it was inaugurated in 2021. And in 2022, more than 900 students were enrolled in this particular center. So apart from this, different funding agencies of India like ICSSR and ICCR also provide scholarships for student exchanges and to the students of Ghana to come to India for different educational programs and especially to learn about Indian culture and different other subjects. So definitely education is this one area wherein both the countries are doing extremely well, and having more than 15,000 Indians sitting in Ghana and having a respect for each other's culture, I can see a very bright roadmap for the future relationship in this particular area.
There's one question that I'd like to address to the both of you. If I can start with you, Professor Joshi, since you are an academic yourself. One view that emerged during the course of our coverage on the PM's visit to Ghana over the last several hours is that there's very little or no scholarship on Africa in India. There is no sustained interest to all things Africa, number one. And number two, lack of media interest for covering developments on the African continent. Do you agree with that submission? And two, what needs to be done to change the situation?
Definitely, Rameshji, media plays a great role in creating general awareness about any area, about any topic, about any theme. And it has to play a positive role, keeping the core objective in mind. So I would not agree that there is no awareness about African nations or what we are doing with Africa. It's an area study, and we do have a center, exclusive center for African studies in our university and different other university in Delhi University as well. So there are different centers in different universities wherein research scholars work on this particular area studies, and they try to explore not only the bilateral dimensions between India and African nations, but also they look from this multinational point of view and what the other platforms or organizations are doing in this particular area. So, but then it's a matter for higher education. And what you said is something about creating a general awareness to boost people-to-people connect. So that is what is happening in Ghana, wherein our Ministry for Culture and Ministry of Tourism keeps organizing different kinds of film festivals and tele festivals and crafts mela and so on. Ghana also celebrates International Yoga Day very happily. And our embassy keeps organizing different yoga workshops, and they celebrate World Hindi Day, Prasar Bharati Divas and so on. As I said, we have a good presence in Ghana. We have over 15,000 Indians living in Ghana, and some of them have taken Ghanaian citizenship also. When it comes to India, definitely media can play a positive role in creating general awareness by sharing history and different interesting facts related to Ghana. So it could be related to its geography, its geostrategic importance, what kind of struggle it went through for its independence, different historical aspects, what it is doing now, how is it placed in Africa, within West African region, what is it doing in ECOWAS, or for that matter in African Union, and how it is supporting India in its fulfilling its global objectives. So there could be such interesting themes on which media can also do a lot and can create general awareness.
Ambassador Lukun, as a former practitioner of diplomacy yourself, do you sense a lack of scholarship on Africa in India? Do you think Africa is a neglected area of study?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I mean, if you see comparative-wise, region-wise, we can definitely say that Africa goes into the back burner. If you say the East Asian studies or American studies or European studies, comparatively it is still behind. But if we see over the last 10-15 years, as the world has opened up, communication has become easier, and people can move into each other countries through tourism, on student exchange, etc. The awareness is growing. For example, in iTech scholarship itself, Prime Minister has announced that it will double after this visit. And if you take even last year's figures, the Ghana for the short-term courses under iTech,
the जॉन महामा, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के सभी साथी, नमस्कार। 3 दशकों के लंबे अंतराल के बाद किसी भारतीय प्रधानमंत्री की घाना यात्रा हो रही है। मेरे लिए यह अत्यंत गर्व की बात है कि मुझे यह अवसर मिला है। अय्य मे अनेजे से मेवोहा, घाना में जिस आत्मीयता, गर्मजोशी और सम्मान से हमारा स्वागत हुआ है, उसके लिए मैं हार्दिक आभारी हूं। राष्ट्रपति जी स्वयं एयरपोर्ट आए, यह मेरे लिए बहुत बड़े सम्मान की बात है। दिसंबर 2024 के आम चुनावों में राष्ट्रपति महामा दूसरी बार राष्ट्रपति चुने गए। उनकी शानदार जीत के लिए मैं एक बार फिर उनको बधाई देता हूं। यह घाना के लोगों का उनके नेतृत्व और विजन के प्रति गहरे विश्वास का प्रतीक है। फ्रेंड्स, भारत घाना मित्रता के केंद्र में हमारे साझे मूल्य, संघर्ष और समावेशी भविष्य को लेकर साझे सपने, हमारे देशों के फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल ने बहुत से अन्य देशों को प्रेरित किया। आज भी पश्चिम अफ्रीका में घाना एक जीवंत लोकतंत्र के रूप में अन्य देशों के लिए बीकन ऑफ होप है। आज राष्ट्रपति जी और मैंने हमारी द्विपक्षीय साझेदारी को कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव पार्टनरशिप का रूप देने का निर्णय लिया है। घाना के राष्ट्र निर्माण की इस यात्रा में भारत केवल एक सहयोगी नहीं, बल्कि एक सहयात्री है। यह भव्य जुबिली हाउस, विदेश सेवा संस्थान, कोमेंडा शुगर फैक्ट्री, इंडिया घाना कॉफी एंड नॉन आईसीटी सेंटर और तेमा पकदन रेलवे लाइन, ये सिर्फ ईंट पत्थर नहीं है, ये हमारी साझेदारी के प्रतीक है। हमारा द्विपक्षीय व्यापार $3 बिलियन पार कर चुका है। भारतीय कंपनियों ने लगभग 900 प्रोजेक्ट्स में लगभग $2 बिलियन का निवेश किया है। आज हमने आपसी व्यापार को अगले 5 वर्षों में दोगुना करने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है। फिनटेक के क्षेत्र में भारत यूपीआई डिजिटल पेमेंट का अनुभव घाना के साथ साझा करने के लिए तैयार है। फ्रेंड, डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप हमारी साझेदारी का एक मूल स्तंभ है। राष्ट्रपति महामा के आर्थिक पुनर्गठन के प्रयासों में भारत के पूर्ण समर्थन और सहयोग का हम आश्वासन देते हैं। आज हमने घाना के लिए आईटेक और आईसीसीआर स्कॉलरशिप को 2 गुना करने का निर्णय लिया है। युवाओं को वोकेशनल एजुकेशन के लिए एक स्किल डेवलपमेंट सेंटर की स्थापना के लिए काम किया जाएगा। कृषि क्षेत्र में राष्ट्रपति महामा जी के फीड गाना प्रोग्राम में सहयोग करने में हमें खुशी होगी। जन औषधि केंद्र के माध्यम से भारत गाना के नागरिकों को एफोर्डेबल हेल्थ केयर, रिलायबल केयर देने का प्रस्ताव रखता है। वैक्सीन प्रोडक्शन में सहयोग के लिए हमने विचार विमर्श किया। रक्षा और सुरक्षा क्षेत्र में हम सिक्योरिटी थ्रू सॉलिडारिटी के मंत्र को लेकर आगे बढ़ेंगे। सशस्त्र बलों की ट्रेनिंग, मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी, डिफेंस सप्लाई और साइबर सिक्योरिटी जैसे क्षेत्रों में सहयोग को बढ़ाया जाएगा। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स के एक्सप्लोरेशन और माइनिंग में भारतीय कंपनियां सहयोग देगी। इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस और कोalition फॉर डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट, डिजास्टर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, डिजास्टर रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जैसे मंचों पर भारत और घाना पहले से सहयोग कर रहे हैं। घाना के रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, विशेषकर क्लीन कुकिंग गैस को बढ़ाने के लिए उसके प्रयासों में सहयोग के लिए हमने उन्हें ग्लोबल बायोफ्यूल्स अलायंस जुड़ने के लिए आमंत्रित किया। फ्रेंड्स, हम दोनों ग्लोबल साउथ के सदस्य हैं और उसकी प्राथमिकताओं के लिए पूरी तरह प्रतिबद्ध है। वॉइस ऑफ ग्लोबल साउथ समिट में उनकी सकारात्मक भागीदारी के लिए हम घाना का धन्यवाद करते हैं। भारत के लिए यह गर्व की बात है कि हमारी G20 अध्यक्षता में अफ्रीकन यूनियन को G20 की स्थायी सदस्यता मिली। हमने साहेल रीजन सहित अन्य क्षेत्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय विषयों पर भी विचार विमर्श किया। हम एक मत है कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में सहयोग के लिए हम घाना का आभार प्रकट करते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म में आपसी सहयोग को और मजबूत करने का निर्णय किया है। यूएन रिफॉर्म्स को लेकर हमारा दृष्टिकोण एक जैसा है। पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप में चल रहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को लेकर हम दोनों ने गहरी चिंता व्यक्त की है। हमारा मानना है कि यह युद्ध का युग नहीं है। डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही समस्या का समाधान होना चाहिए। फ्रेंड्स, घाना में भारतीय समुदाय हमारे पीपल टू पीपल संबंधों की विशेष कड़ी है। लंबे समय से भारतीय शिक्षक, डॉक्टर, और इंजीनियर घाना में सेवाएं दे रहे हैं। यहाँ की आर्थिक और सामाजिक प्रगति में भी भारतीय समुदाय सकारात्मक योगदान दे रहा है। भारतीय समुदाय के साथ कल अपनी मुलाकात के लिए मैं बहुत ही उत्साहित हूं। राष्ट्रपति जी, आप भारत के घनिष्ठ मित्र हैं। आप भारत से भी भली भांति परिचित हैं। मैं आपको भारत यात्रा का निमंत्रण देता हूं। मुझे विश्वास है कि आप हमें भारत में अपना स्वागत करने का अवसर प्रदान करेंगे। एक बार फिर मैं आपका, गाना सरकार और गाना के सभी लोगों का उनके आतिथ्य सत्कार के लिए हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Ambassador Lagoon, so if you look at the Prime Minister's speech, I mean, he's going to be speaking in Parliament as well tomorrow. So is there some sort of, international political messaging also that's taking place in that speech?
Yeah, definitely. Prime Minister stressed on terrorism. This is which where he said that any normal country, this terrorism is a menace, and Ghana also has been facing not internally but in the region, Sahel region, the threats of Islamic terrorism, Boko Haram, ISIS. So and the neighboring countries are unstable. So terrorism is one. The other is time to. He stressed about the UN reforms, which India has been a very big advocate, and it has been reiterated that Ghana supports India's views on UN reforms, which is another very big area. And also in areas of giving voice to the south, where Ghana has very actively participated in voice to the south before the voice to the south summit before the G20 summit, which was hosted by India. And where African Union became a member. So these are these are the areas where internationally it will reverberate, and in the coming visits of the Prime Minister to other countries, including the BRICS summit, I think these will find again mention and perhaps more elaboration. We look forward to that. Yes.
Professor Joshi, in addition to the Prime Minister's address to Ghana's Parliament, there's another engagement lined up for day 2 of his visit, and that is his interaction, much anticipated one at that, with the Indian community in Ghana. An interaction with the diaspora has become a part and parcel, a trademark of sorts of the PM's overseas visits, and it's no different this time as well in Ghana. What do you make of the rising profile of the Indian diaspora worldwide, including Ghana? Are they becoming a force to reckon with in the life and society, in the politics of the country they live in?
Definitely, Rameshji, that's a very good question. And when we look at the presence of Indian diaspora across the globe, it's incredible currently, and we can take the example of United States of America, wherein the sizable Indian diaspora not only participates in different kind of socio-cultural activities and policy making mechanisms, but it also very actively participates and helps in shaping policies, politics and foreign policy of United States of America. Similarly, if you just travel around the globe, you would see a good presence of skilled Indian professionals in different parts of the world, and this has indeed helped. It's an element of India's soft power, and this has helped in boosting India's relationship with different countries across the globe. And these Indians are the flag bearers of our culture. So definitely they also help in creating a positive image about India. I would now come to Ghana, wherein almost 15,000 Indian lives, and some of these people are in Ghana for over 70 years, and some have also taken the citizenship of Ghana. They are working in as in doctors, engineers, so they are skilled professionals. They are also working in different MNCs and different local Ghanaian companies. And because of this Indian community, we can make out how they have helped in spreading Indian philosophy, Indian culture in Ghana with the Ghanaian people. So we can see how different kind of temples and spiritual places are already there in Ghana. So there are ISKCON temples, Art of Living ashrams, and so on. And Ghanaian people also celebrate different Indian days and different Indian festivals with fervor. So as I shared, days like the Constitutional Day, World Hindi Day, Prasar Bharati Day, all these days are celebrated in Ghana. And our entertainment industry, especially our soap operas, our serials, are very much popular in Ghana. And that is why Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Tourism keeps scheduling, organizing different types of festivals here, and crafts festivals also. Ghana also celebrates Indian International Yoga Day, and yoga classes are regularly being conducted in Ghana. So that's the impact of the Indian diaspora. And now I'll go back to global level, as in a crucial element of soft power. Definitely Indian diaspora has helped in creating a positive image of India, and also have helped in spreading Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina across the globe.
Ambassador Lagoon, you were talking a little earlier about an environment for doing business, I think, earlier. So that when we look at the agreement on the, or the MOU on the Bureau of Indian Standards and the Ghana Standards Authority, why is this important in trying to understand, let's say, the doing business kind of approach with Ghana? And also you did mention about, you know, they have the same sort of legal system as we do. Is that all necessary to create that enabling environment?
Yeah, this is very necessary, especially in the world. For example, if some project is coming up in Ghana or in India, vice versa, and steel has to be imported from India, because India is a big producer of steel. So India produces steel of certain standards which are mostly accepted worldwide, and Bureau of Indian Standards. Now Ghana, because of its environment, the location and their geographical and climatic features, may come up with certain standards for use of steel, because Ghana is not a producer of steel. That's why I give this example. So the Indian steel which might come to Ghana may not be acceptable. Means for that project they may be forced to maybe get a steel from Germany or Britain, which may be producing according to that standard. So, but then if there is an MOU between the two sides, it is ensured that the Indian steel which is produced is acceptable in the Ghanaian standard, which has also approval of Ghanaian standard institution. So there is a seamless trade between the two countries, you know, for any projects like that. This one, then it can be same thing in the agricultural side, you know, where you know, cashew can be come here to India, and then the finished products may be going back to Ghana. So you know, getting a certain standard which is acceptable locally. If there is a collaboration between the two countries for recognition of the standard, or Ghana may say कि okay, Indian steel product or the cashew product of this standard is acceptable because we found it's not harmful. No? So it enhances trade. Similarly, in legal side, you know, for registration of companies, and if there are challenges, because when there are trade and you know, projects coming up, invariably chances of disputes or misunderstandings happening you know, are very the chances are very high. So if they have a similar legal background, especially coming from the English common law, it definitely helps for the courts to decide, and they in terms of contracts being signed between the two sides for those type of businesses or projects. So they have a similar legal background. So definitely it facilitates. So this is the advantage India has with countries like Ghana or Nigeria, the English speaking countries. It definitely helps, yes.
Well, Ambassador Lagun, Professor Joshi, stay on. We'll come back to you in just a bit, but in the meantime, let's pull up some more news for our viewers. Prime Minister Modi also said that both nations stand united in its fight against terrorism. He added that India and Ghana remain concerned over tensions in southern Asia and Europe.
हमारा द्विपक्षीय व्यापार $3 बिलियन पार कर चुका है। भारतीय कंपनियों ने लगभग 900 प्रोजेक्ट्स में लगभग $2 बिलियन का निवेश किया है। आज हमने आपसी व्यापार को अगले 5 वर्षों में दोगुना करने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है। फिनटेक के क्षेत्र में भारत यूपीआई डिजिटल पेमेंट का अनुभव घाना के साथ साझा करने के लिए तैयार है। फ्रेंड, डेवलपमेंट पार्टनरशिप हमारी साझेदारी का एक मूल स्तंभ है। राष्ट्रपति महामा के आर्थिक पुनर्गठन के प्रयासों में भारत के पूर्ण समर्थन और सहयोग का हम आश्वासन देते हैं। आज राष्ट्रपति जी और मैंने हमारी द्विपक्षीय साझेदारी को कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव पार्टनरशिप का रूप देने का निर्णय लिया है। घाना के राष्ट्र निर्माण की इस यात्रा में भारत केवल एक सहयोगी नहीं बल्कि एक सहयात्री है।
In fact, let's play out also what the Prime Minister said about terrorism.
हम एक मत है कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में सहयोग के लिए हम घाना का आभार प्रकट करते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म में आपसी सहयोग को और मजबूत करने का निर्णय किया है। यूएन रिफॉर्म्स को लेकर हमारा दृष्टिकोण एक जैसा है। पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप में चल रहे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को लेकर हम दोनों ने गहरी चिंता व्यक्त की है। हमारा मानना है कि यह युद्ध का युग नहीं है। डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही समस्या का समाधान होना चाहिए।
Professor Joshi, so if we look at the Prime Minister's speech once again, and there seems to be a message as I had asked Ambassador Lagun as well, there seems to be a message for, let's say, the international community. What do you think? I mean, in terms of India now speaking for the Global South, and perhaps, also the Global South uniting. After all, this entire trip is dedicated to the Global South in the fight against terrorism. Basically, this is not the era of war. Dialogue and diplomacy are the way forward. These are clear messages coming out, not only from India, but from the Global South.
Nations that our Honorable Prime Minister is visiting are part of Global South, and look at Argentina and Brazil, Latin America, and then tomorrow our Prime Minister would be visiting Trinidad and Tobago, a Caribbean country. He's in Ghana, African country, and Namibia again when he would be visiting to Namibia. So African and Latin American and Caribbean countries, our Prime Minister is trying to give this clear-cut message to global community that Global South not only believes in shared developmental goals, but Global South as a whole also wants reforms in different multilateral platforms like United Nations. So that is what our Prime Minister has stated in his address today. He mentioned that India cannot tolerate the issue of terrorism, and so will be like done by the global South nations, and Ghana has always supported India's fight against global terror, and both the countries might move forward in this particular area in terms of strengthening their collaboration. Then he also spoke about reforms in United Nations. Since a long time, India has been proposing reforms, especially in United Nations Security Council, and when India seeks the right representation from different continents in United Nations Security Council, Ghana supports India. And then he also spoke about this, making global South powerful and providing these emerging economies a leadership position on different platforms in global politics. India has amplified Africa's role on global stage by helping it in becoming the permanent member of the mighty G20 organization during its presidency. So all in all, it's like a clear-cut message to the global community that Global South does believe in fulfilling the global objectives, as in like climate change containment or sustainable development, or for that matter fighting against terrorism. At the same time, it believes in shared developmental goals, and that's what it will achieve through bilateral as well as multilateral partnerships.
Ambassador Lugun, as we wait for the first visuals to become available of the conferment of the Order of the Star of Ghana on Prime Minister Modi, if we were to look at India-Ghana relations from the prism or perspective of India's outreach or connect to Africa as a whole, we saw President Mahama himself during his earlier tenure visit India in 2015 for the third edition of the India-Africa Forum Summit. How do you assess the journey or evolution of the summit, number one? And number two, do you think a fourth edition is long overdue?
Yeah, it's progressing naturally towards that. Now, our Honorable Prime Minister has been conferred this highest award from Ghana, and before that, his visit to Nigeria last year, again he was conferred the highest civilian award of Nigeria, of the Order of the Knights, which earlier had been awarded only to the Queen of England. Our Prime Minister was the second one to receive that award. So these are all African countries, and in the last India-Africa Forum Summit, it was agreed that unless there is progress in the understandings reached, having another summit does not make sense. So, but now things are coming up, and in between COVID, was a big dampener. Otherwise, end of 2020, etc. There was plans to have the summit. So I'm sure next one will happen quite soon. Especially after Ghana, there is another African country which Prime Minister is visiting, Namibia, which we look forward to that. Yes.
Yes, indeed, Professor Joshi. Both India and Ghana, had I think founder members of the non-aligned movement. But now we are talking about the Global South. Is the Global South, the natural replacement of the non-aligned movement?
Yeah, up to an extent, I agree with you. As in, we started, we were like the pioneer of this non-alignment movement, and that was the time when most of the African, Asian and Latin American nations who had come out of the brunt of the colonial days, colonial rule, didn't want to become a part of any of the lobbies, the two lobbies of the Cold War. So due to this circumstantial, situation, India, with the help of other countries, pioneered this non-alignment movement to stay neutral in terms of lobby politics, and most of these African, Asian and Latin American nations also joined the, this entire movement. Slowly we saw a change, especially after the end of the Cold War, when world no longer remained bipolar and world slowly became multipolar. And we also saw globalization, ICT technologies, and open economy, liberal economy knocking our doors. So that was the time when most of the Asian nations, at least including China and India, South Korea as well, understood the potential of their market, and they stepped out and chose this way of FDI and open economy, and joined the race among the developed nations. Having said that, this fight of global South started after the making of United Nations, as in even despite forming of United Nations, most of the powerful nations only controlled United Nations, and that was the time when these emerging economies or the third world countries or the underdeveloped nations found themselves in the darker space. So they wanted a leadership position for themselves, and from here this story of or this fight of global South starts. So after the end of the Cold War, when the world became multipolar, this non-alignment movement, I wouldn't say became redundant, but the countries from Asia, Latin America and Africa now wanted to become all aligned in their developmental journey. They wanted economic progress. So that is how we look at global South, with a more economic agenda, wherein they all want to grow economically to attain power in the global order. As in, we have also seen in the era of 1990s, when Joseph Nye coined the term soft power, the definition of power in itself changed. So there are so many angles and dimensions, but I would say that when we look at this global South and the associated nations, it's all about attaining status of an economic power. Economically, they all want to become better, and they all want to grow together. And for that, they want leadership positions in different multilateral platforms as well. And that's what our Prime Minister is reiterating through his addresses from all these countries, including Ghana, that all belong to this non-alignment movement, all alignment program, as well as Global South.
Ambassador Lugun, since we are framing the Prime Minister's visit to Ghana in the context and in the rubric of the Global South, India's outreach, as it were, to the Global South, is there scope for both India and Ghana to cooperate or collaborate in third countries?
Definitely in the context of Ghana, definitely in West Africa, where Ghana is very active, and after Nigeria, it is the second most important country there in terms of GDP, economy, etc. And also Ghana since the mid-90s has been democratically very stable in the area which is quite disturbed. So at least definitely in the region wise it is very important. And for India, where India has been facing this scourge of terrorism, in the neighborhood, which happened just a month back. We faced this unfortunate action on both the sides. So their collaboration in counter-terrorism, which has been reiterated by or has been spelled out by the Prime Minister in the bilateral talks. Definitely both the countries have a big role to play in their respective regions and through the regions in the world, to reach the globally in these areas where we are having common stand and common understanding. And definitely it will have its spillover in the economic and commercial side also. Yes.
Ambassador Lugun, when we talk about the soft power, and there's one of the MoUs is on cultural exchange program to enhance people-to-people ties. How is this executed? I mean, we have an agreement, but at the end of the day, how do people and people meet?
Yeah, I mean, the cultural exchange program is a broad rubric under which then there are various components. One is exchange of cultural troops. Also, where people go for institutions of learning. For example, Ghanaians may receive some scholarship to learn classical dance in India, or Indians may go to Ghana to learn classical music there, of Ghanaian music, etc. So the comprehensive this cultural exchange program, unless we see the whole details, it will definitely have different components under which the relationships can be developed in the various areas, whether it is learning or fine arts, exhibitions, sending of cultural troops, having seminars where the cultural aspects of both the countries are spoken to, and of course there will be funding mechanisms. There may be some events which can be sponsored also, especially when the troops are visiting both the countries. So it gives a very wide scope in enhancing soft power and increasing understanding between the two countries, and therefore the lack of media interest, etc., gets addressed automatically between the two countries. Yes.
Professor Joshi, Prime Minister Modi referred to the United Nations reforms in his joint press statement with President Mahama. He seemed to suggest that both countries, India and Ghana, have a similar or almost identical position or stand or view on the way to reform the United Nations in general and UN Security Council in particular. In that context, do you see a consensus evolving within Africa, the continent, insofar as who should get a place around the horseshoe table?
Yeah, of course. When we look at the countries that are the most stable or, for that matter, democratic in nature, Ghana emerges as the one from Africa. When countries like India talk about reforms in United Nations in general and United Nations Security Council in particular. So I would like to recall the United Nations General Assembly's annual summit, wherein our ambassador proposed a model of increasing the number of permanent members as well as the other members of United Nations Security Council in particular, wherein she spoke about how there could be representation from different continents, as in like the permanent members of the Security Council of United Nations. So when we look at different continents, definitely India asserts for becoming a permanent member of United Nations Security Council from Asian context, but when we look at Africa, definitely there seems to be a consensus, because being a stable and democratic country, and we could see that it's doing good economically as well, Ghana is that one country that might get or should get a place in this particular model that India has proposed, which was supported by different other nations from Global South, from Latin America, from Africa, from Asia. In fact, some of the European nations also have supported this proposal from Indian side. And having said that, Ghana also has the chairpersonship of this ECOWAS, which is like the Economic Forum for African region, as well as it's a prominent face, prominent name in African Union as well. So it has that experience also of like leading these regional organizations, platforms, and the kind of country it is, the kind of democracy that it has. It enjoys peaceful regime. It makes Ghana special and important from like African perspective to participate or to lead or to like reflect Africa, represent Africa in different international institutions, including United Nations as well as United Nations Security Council of future.
Well, and I'd like to thank our guests, Professor Anshu Joshi and Ambassador Lagoon. Thank you very much, both of you, for being with us. You have really helped us understand this relationship in greater detail, and helped us, enlightened us about what the potential of the relationship is also going forward. And with that, it's a wrap on this special broadcast, but news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on the social media and mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Namaskar.
Bye-bye.